I've just found something which is very, very interesting, and going forward this could be possibly a solution for the whole issues around delisting and also compliance with Chinese companies that are listed in the US, and also how they can behave between the US regulations as well as Chinese regulations. But first of all, I have to say, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a guy on YouTube. Don't count on what I'm saying. This is just putting my research out there, and you need to do your own due diligence by judging what are the facts and also how you approach your own investments. Meanwhile, I would appreciate a subscribe and a like to this video so that you don't miss out on future videos that will not necessarily get pushed on your front page on YouTube. Make sure to hit this little notification button so that you get a notification, right? Now into the topic, Yuchin just announced or filed a Form 6K in which they are saying that in order to streamline its corporate structure and considering the changing regulatory environment, Yuchin has recently completed a restructuring process to terminate the contractual arrangements with both of its variable interest entities, which have become wholly owned subsidiaries of the company. Pursuant to the restructuring, the company's wholly owned subsidiaries that have contractual arrangements with the VIEs and their respective shareholders have purchased all equity interests held by such shareholders in the VIE. Accordingly, all contractual arrangements that enable such shareholders to exercise effective control over the VIEs received substantially all of the economic benefits of the VIEs and have exclusive options to purchase all or part of the equity interests in the VIEs were effectively terminated. As a result of the restructuring, the VIEs have become wholly owned subsidiaries of the company, and the company currently operates its business in China directly through its subsidiaries rather than through any variable interest entity. So lots of lawyers speak. What does it mean? Well, you might know if you invest in Chinese companies that some of the criticism towards Chinese companies has been that they are operating via a so-called VIE structure. Oftentimes, mainly internet platform businesses are doing this in order to avoid some national legislation in China, which basically says that Chinese companies cannot be in hands of foreign ownership. And there are some legal ways of dealing with that, and that's basically sort of a holding structure. For example, if we're taking NIO here, you see the whole structure of NIO. So you have the offshore side, which is the NIO Cayman Island company, which is basically the company that is IPO'd and listed in the New York Stock Exchange. And they are having several subsidiaries. That's actually something quite normal. So holding structures are not something unusual. And then you also have this onshore part, which are basically the companies that are in mainland China. And with the most important one, which is the VIE company, the Beijing NIO Network Technology company, in which you can see here, it is just a contractual arrangement. So there is no real equity interest in that company. And this is kind of the criticism about the VIE structure, that if you're invested in this NIO Cayman Island company, you basically are not holding a direct equity interest in this mainland China company, in which most of the mainland assets are actually in this company, but you only hold a so-called contractual arrangement. And that is this workaround how these companies can go and list overseas. Many companies have used that, like Alibaba, Weibo. I think most of the Chinese companies that are platform businesses are doing that. And UXIN also listed like this, but what they have done now is they have basically ended such kind of a contractual arrangement and instead have now an equity interest in that company, and basically thereby ending this contractual relationship and now having a real equity stake in this mainland China business. So no more VIE structure for Yuchin anymore. Now, why is this interesting? Well, I have reported about another IPO I think it was in February, about this company Meihua, which was the first Chinese IPO after the whole crackdown issue, right? After the crackdowns, we said like basically, oh, Chinese companies are not gonna list in the US anymore. They are not allowed to, but the Chinese regulators basically said, yes, they are allowed to, unless they don't do it like Didi, which basically went ahead and IPO'd overseas without taking care about the warnings by the regulators. And so the current new rule is kind of that if you are doing it via a VIE structure, it's still okay with us. And if you are IPOing in the US, it's also okay with us. But what we want, that's from the perspective of the Chinese regulators, is we want a pre-approval or kind of giving the okay for the IPO. And so this company here did something very interesting, which is they IPO'd in the US without an VIE structures. So if you're looking here at the structure of this business, you also have this offshore part, which is the one that is actually then also listed in the US. And then the onshore part, which is also here, you can see that 100% ownership going down to the mainland business. All of this 100% owned, so a real equity interest in the company and not just a contractual interest, so no VIE structure used for this IPO. Plus, and I also outlined this company has got a report of an independent registered public accounting firm in this IPO prospectus here. And this accounting firm is stating here, we are a public accounting firm registered with the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, so that's the PCAOB, and are required to be independent with respect to the company in accordance with the US federal securities law and the applicable rules and regulations of the SEC. We have conducted our audits in accordance with the standards of the PCAOB. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. So this statement is why this IPO is quite interesting, because they're basically saying, look guys, we have an auditor who is in compliance with the oversight of the PCAOB. Plus, in addition to that, they also don't have the VIE structure. And now here we have the news about Yuchin also getting rid of the VIE structure. And the question here is, could they also in the next step use the same independent registered accounting firm that has PCAOB accounting oversight and thereby kind of become compliant also with this Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act? And if this is what they're planning to do here with Yuchin, then I was wondering if this could actually be a model for all of the Chinese companies, including, let's say, Alibaba or NIO, that they could possibly also get rid of, first of all, the VIE structure, and second of all, also choosing one of the auditors that is actually compliant with the PCAOB. Lots of open questions. I don't know the answers to that, but I just wanted to put my research out there. And so happy to hear something about that in the comments, whether you have any insights to that. I thought that was worthwhile sharing. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one.